The Old National Bank mass shooting, April 10th. We've been left with so many questions since then. Now tonight, police search warrant information is public, and we are talking to one local attorney about what it means.
So they want to know where he got the firearm from. How did he get the firearm?
And then, Louisville shooting and burn survivors meeting at the Speed Art Museum tonight. Special exhibits helping the healing, the victims beyond the headlines.
I take pride in being able to recover from something so horrific.
Plus the massive police presence rushing to the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet building in Frankfort. Reports of an active shooter. Buildings evacuated. A frightening 2 hours. Police saying no shots were ever fired. Right now on the WHAS11 Night Team. Right here tonight on the Night Team, the search warrants into the gunman of the Old National Bank mass shooting in Louisville are revealing. Hello, everybody. It's our top story. I'm Doug Proffitt. The court documents showing that LMPD is getting information from 25-year-old Connor Sturgeon's phone, email accounts, and social media records. WHAS11 Night Team's Connor Steffen took those documents to a former prosecutor and local attorney for more on what they're telling us. Connor?
Well, Doug, we're getting some answers while we're waiting on countless others tonight. We still don't know Connor Sturgeon's motives, but we are getting insight into the planning process he set into motion weeks before that fateful day on April 10th. 4 separate search warrants revealing some of the steps Connor Sturgeon took to prepare for what happened April 10th at Old National Bank.
But what jumps out at me is this investigation is a little bit more expansive.
LMPD issued warrants to Apple, Google, AT&T, and Snapchat for data from Sturgeon's iPhone. The phone found in Sturgeon's pocket after an LMPD officer shot and killed him. He had live streamed the shooting on Instagram. In the documents, detectives refer to finding messages and notes outlining plans about how to conduct the criminal activities, and a manifesto found at Sturgeon's home, though the warrants offered little to no insight into the contents of it.
It is a key finding. The manifesto may not be released as rapidly as some of this other information is released.
Carl Price is a practicing attorney with more than 30 years of experience. He's not involved in this case.
What is your reaction to what has been discovered in these search warrants?
What stuck out to me was the word the targets. You know, targets that in law enforcement, that means that we've got our eye potentially on someone else.
Price, who is also a former prosecutor in Louisville, says this is typical of investigations into mass shooters.
It raises an eyebrow that something or somebody got to them and influenced them.
Sturgeon's battle with mental health is another well-documented finding. The warrants refer to an interview detectives conducted with Sturgeon's parents where it was noted his mental health disorders may have played a part during this criminal act. These claims are backed by mental health texts found on Sturgeon's phone to his girlfriend at the time. Price also suggests the findings in this criminal investigation will help build strong civil court cases. He expects those will be filed in the near future. In the studio, Connor Steffen, the WHAS 11 Night Team, on your side.
Connor, thank you. Another encouraging update tonight about this shooting on the officer who bravely responded to the mass shooting at Old National Bank. And an update shared by the Louisville Metro Police Foundation today. Family members say Officer Nicholas Wilt is the most awake he's been since the mass shooting. Last Wednesday, he was transferred to the Fraser Rehab Center in Louisville, and they say he has shown signs of improvement during his first week there. There are a few areas that they will continue to monitor closely. Well, it was a frightening 2 hours in Frankfort today, the capital city, after law enforcement says they received reports of a gunman inside the 5-story Kentucky Transportation Cabinet building, which is not far from the Kentucky State Capitol. This was the scene we saw today as Kentucky State Police say the calls came in around 3 this afternoon. Photos from people at the large scene show that the huge number of police were responding. With help from Frankfort Police, the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, and U.S. Marshals, troopers did an entire sweep of the buildings. The report turned out to be false. At 5 o'clock, troopers say they cleared the building and no shots were ever fired and no injuries reported. An investigation into exactly what happened is currently being conducted by Kentucky State Police. The Indiana Supreme Court has upheld the life sentence of the man convicted of killing his ex-girlfriend and eating parts of her body in southern Indiana. Joseph Oberhansley was convicted in 2020 of murder and burglary in the 2014 slaying of Tammy Jo Blanton. A Clark County judge sentenced Oberhansley to life in prison without parole based on the jury's recommendation. However, Oberhansley's attorney argued that the sentence was not appropriate because Oberhansley suffers from a profound mental health disorder that wasn't taken into consideration. Today, a Supreme Court opinion said the jury did make the necessary information weighing determination and upheld the sentencing. New tonight, they are the survivors you never hear about again after the headlines of violence that changed their lives. Tonight, U of L hosted a trauma survivor exhibit in the Speed Art Museum for those who've recovered from gunshots, burn injuries, and car accidents. WHAS 11 Night Team's Taylor Woods has their story, using their pain as purpose to help others.
July 15th, 2022, I was shot point blank in the face.
A day that is so hard to forget.
The grease on the stove, I was going to fry some food, caught fire.
These are just two of the 16 trauma survivors that experienced life-saving treatment at U of L Hospital. Olivia, a gunshot survivor, can still remember the last conversation when she stopped at the stop-and-go gas station on West Oak Street for chips and a drink.
Just give me my phone, there's location on that. You don't want to be tracked. I don't want anything coming back on me. And in a matter of seconds, he pulled up the gun and shot me in the face.
For Rochelle, her daughter grabbed the burning pot off the stove. Rochelle opened the door and the air hit it. That's when her life changed.
Caused an explosion and burned my entire left side, and I have wraparound burns on my right side, and my daughter got flash burns on her face.
U of L helped them through their recovery, and tonight their photos are showcased in an exhibit along with these decorated hearts that represent survivors and those who did not make it.
Each string represents a different type of bond and connection between each of our survivors.
The man behind the lens who took these photos say it's been incredible to capture their story.
I mean, it's changed me. Like, I think it's life-changing. All their stories and just hearing them all together.
And the writer of these photos say this has been an empowering journey. This is where the therapy begins.
There is a life after the traumatic experience that happened and all that comes along with that, living with it, after it, and through it.
Rochelle is turning her pain into purpose with her skincare line.
For people with burned and cracked skin, and helps people with sensitive skin, so we have a sunscreen.
And Olivia will continue to advocate for gunshot survivors.
Being a voice for them, because I needed that at one point, because I didn't have a voice. I wasn't able to talk for almost 3 months.
A voice now being heard and understood. In Louisville, Taylor Woods, WHAS 11 Night Team on your side.
Those survivors were chosen and identified by members of the J. David Richardson Trauma Center. We've learned who will be the next Jefferson County Commonwealth's attorney. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear today appointing Jarena Weathers to the position. Weathers will be the first African-American woman to serve in this post in Jefferson County. Recently, she served as Secretary of the Kentucky Personnel Cabinet. She also has 20 years of public service as a prosecutor in the Jefferson County Attorney's Office. The appointment follows the death of longtime Jefferson County Commonwealth's Attorney Tom Wime. Weathers will start her job this Friday. Longtime Louisville Fire Chief Greg Frederick is retiring. He spent 39 years with the Louisville Fire Department and has served as chief since 1999. It does make him the longest serving chief in department history and the longest serving metropolitan chief in the country.
It has been the greatest career I could have ever imagined, and I'm proud to be a part of this department and its rich history.
When asked what he's most proud of, Frederick pointed to this. In fact, two things: preserving and saving Whiskey Row during the large fire in July of 2016 and getting the best equipment for his team. He said each crew member has 2 sets of gear and the best quality fire trucks in the nation.
Leadership is challenging. It's about doing the right things and doing things right. It's about honor, courage, and dedication to service. Great leaders lead during the tough times, not just when things are going well.
The transition happened quickly. This man, current Battalion Chief Brian O'Neill, will now take over the role. Frederick's last day will be August 1st. I've written more on my Facebook page tonight about Greg Frederick's time as chief. I've covered all of his years on the top job and stood at many fire scenes waiting for his always accurate information. The race for the next governor of Kentucky has been set, and it's now full steam ahead until the November general election. Democrat incumbent Andy Beshear is set to face off against the Republican nominee and current Attorney General Daniel Cameron. Beshear easily won the Democratic nomination, taking away 90% of the vote. Meantime, Republican Daniel Cameron won a heated GOP race for governor in the primary, taking about 48% of the primary vote. Cameron beat out Agriculture Commissioner Ryan Quarles, who got 22%, and former Ambassador Kelly Craft, who spent $11 million on her campaign, only took 17% of the vote. Voter turnout in this primary election did make history, an historic low. Despite that, political experts tell us the dominance of Daniel Cameron in the GOP vote cannot be ignored. Iris Wilbur-Glick, a Louisville political analyst and principal at McCarthy Strategic Solutions, says it's a race bound to be heavily contested with heavy out-of-state influence and national implications.
He is ballot tested, as so is Governor Beshear, and so we'll see both candidates run a very strong professional campaign to reach to voters. Neither candidate can afford any errors.
There's no better master at running campaigns behind the scenes than Mitch McConnell. And I guarantee you McConnell will have his finger on the scale here.
The thoughts there of U of L political science professor Dewey Clayton. He agrees with Glick. Clayton also notes the difference in this race could be voter turnout in the metro areas of Kentucky.
If turnout is high in Louisville and turnout is high with Democrats in Louisville and in Lexington in particular, and maybe a little bit of northern Kentucky around Kenton, I think that could clearly be the difference.
Western Kentucky will be another major focus for both candidates. Of course, a largely Republican demographic. Governor Andy Beshear has won over some voters in that heavily Republican area because of his response and constant visits to the towns ravaged by tornadoes.